Our 34th winner is the first actress to win for a non-English language film, Sophia Loren. She won for her role as Chizira in Two Women. This film follows Chizira and her daughter Rosetta as they flee Rome during World War II. After their train gets halted, they walk the rest of the way to the village that Chizira was born in, where they meet Michele. Together with the rest of the village, they search for food and discuss when the war will end. I really liked most of this film. I think its portrayal of how World War II displaced many individuals is tough to watch, but still somewhat enjoyable. That is, until the last 20 minutes of the film. I'm not going to say what happens, but if you ever consider watching it, make sure to look up content warnings because it is really intense. Sophia Loren plays Chizira so insanely well, it's honestly baffling that her performance isn't talked about more. With all the hardships that Chizira goes through, all the ups and downs, Loren portrays them masterfully. The audience feels every emotion she feels, even when we don't want to. Alright, ratings time. For acting, I'll give her an 8 and movie rating of 5. For deservedness, I don't think she had much competition in the other nominees, the only notable one to me being Audrey Hepburn in Breakfast at Tiffany's. In the not nominated category is a film I mentioned a while ago in the Joan Crawford video, The Children's Hour. Audrey Hepburn and Shirley MacLaine both give great performances in this film, playing opposite to the worst, most evil character in all of cinema. But even with how much I love The Children's Hour, I think Sophia Loren just annihilates any other performance, so I'll give her a 10. Our 35th winner is for a tried-and-true method of getting a Best Actress win, a movie based on a play. Reprising her stage role as Annie Sullivan, Anne Bancroft won for The Miracle Worker. This movie follows Annie as she gets hired by the Keller family to try and help their daughter Helen. The family mostly wants her to be obedient, but Annie sees that Helen is a smart child and just needs the tools to be able to communicate with people. God, this movie is so good. I've seen it before, but I was looking forward to rewatching this so much, and it was just as good on a rewatch. The sheer physicality of this role would be enough to guarantee anyone a Best Actress Oscar, but Bancroft highlights these moments with softness towards Helen that really round out her character into something perfect. Both Bancroft and Patty Duke, who plays Helen, reprised their roles from Broadway, and that was clearly an excellent choice, as they already had a ton of experience playing these characters multiple times a week. I can't imagine this movie if the studio had gotten Audrey Hepburn or Liz Taylor to play Annie like they wanted to. This role was just made for Bancroft. Alright, ratings time. For acting, I'll give her an 8 and movie rating a 9. For deservedness, there's a very big nominee with Bette Davis for Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. And look, I love that movie, I love Bette Davis, but Bancroft beats out all the competition just in the dinner scene alone, so I'll give her a 10. Our 36th winner holds the record for the least amount of screen time in a winning leading role, Patricia Neal. She won for her 21 minutes of screen time in HUD. HUD follows Paul Newman as HUD, an uncaring man whose reckless behavior hurts those around him. Among those is his father Homer, his nephew Lonnie, and their housekeeper Alma, played by Neal. I am honestly baffled at how Patricia Neal won this Oscar and how she even got nominated for such a small role. I mean, even the Golden Globes categorized her performance as supporting and gave the win to Leslie Caron. After looking through newspaper clippings for a few hours, none of the papers really mention her role in HUD as anything beyond a bland description of her character. Hell, this one article calls her performance low-key, and seemed to some observers to be in the supporting category. Only one paper I found really mentioned her performance at all, saying, "Somehow, Miss Neal, by an occasional roll of her big eyes, managed to convince me that she knew what was the matter with HUD, even if the authors of the screenplay didn't," which is equally a slam of the writing as it is a compliment to Neal's acting ability. After the nominations came out, I did see a few instances where Neal was predicted to win, but many of the papers couldn't decide between Leslie Caron, Shirley MacLaine, and Natalie Wood as the winners. One just straight up said it was anyone's game. I also saw a few articles mentioning snubs, specifically Polly Bergen and The Caretakers, along with Liz Taylor and Cleopatra, and Geraldine Page in Toys in the Attic. One article states that Polly may not have had another go at such a starkly dramatic role, and will likely not have another chance at the award. Miss Taylor and Miss Page frequently turn down scripts that other actresses quiver for, and should find themselves running in the next few years. And boy did they. A shocking amount of articles mention Rachel Roberts, if only to comment on how her and Rex Harrison were only the second married couple to be nominated the same year, while also contributing to the British invasion of the Oscars, which will only continue to grow in the next few winners. I'm thinking another spin-off episode might be needed to get into these other nominees, so stay tuned for that. Whew, that was a lot of newspaper reading. Alright, ratings time. For acting, I'll give her a 6 and movie rating of 5. For deservedness, my research didn't really get me any closer to understanding why she won, to be honest. I did find a couple articles from before HUD came out that talked about how Neal and her husband Roald Dahl lost their 7-year-old daughter Olivia to measles, which possibly could have contributed, but none of the papers that came out during Oscar season mentioned that, so I can't say for sure. Because of these reasons, I'll give her a 4. Our 37th winner won for a childhood classic, Julie Andrews. She won for her incredible performance in Mary Poppins. I'm sure everybody knows the plot for this movie, but in case you don't, Mary Poppins follows the Banks children after they get a new nanny in the form of Mary Poppins. Being the best nanny she can be, she takes them into cartoon landscapes and brings their family together. This movie is just pure magic. I haven't seen it since I was a kid, and it blew me away at how well it still holds up. I'm definitely going to be making a longer form video about the special effects at some point, because, look at it. It looks amazing. It's weird to think about it now how someone could win a lead actor Oscar for a Disney movie, but this was the height of the British invasion in Hollywood, and movie musicals were still very popular. Plus, Julie Andrews is just so charming and likable as Mary Poppins. I don't really know what else to say about her performance, so instead you can just watch this clip of her being amazing.
How about you? Very well. Hold this for me. As I expected, Mary Poppins practically perfect in every way.
Alright, ratings time. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. She gets 10s across the boards. I don't really know if this is a 10s across the boards kind of performance, but Mary Poppins' sustained legacy in the pop culture zeitgeist hinges upon Julie Andrews' performance, and that's good enough reason for me. Our 38th winner is known for her work in British New Wave films, Julie Christie. She won for her role as Diana Scott in Darling. Darling follows several years in the life of Diana Scott, a young woman whose modeling career transforms into a successful acting career as she enters different relationships with different men. I don't think I could think of a bigger tone shift in Best Actress winners to go from Mary Poppins to Diana Scott, a woman who sleeps around and attends gay orgies. You could easily remake this film now and just tweak the dialogue to be more modern, and her journey would still resonate with people. Diana's actions would normally mean her character dies or loses everything by the end if this movie was from the 40s or 50s. She sleeps around with men who are married while she is married herself, she has an abortion in order to continue her career, she's friends with people from all walks of life, and the only reason her actions get punished are because the men she sleeps with cannot comprehend a woman doing the same thing they are. And Julie Christie plays Diana with so much likability and charm, even when she does something wrong, it's easy to forgive her. While next year's Best Actress winning movie gets a lot of deserved credit for tying down the Hays Code, it's clear to me from watching this that it didn't need much more than a push to topple it. Alright, ratings time. For acting, I'll give her a 7, and movie rating an 8. For deservedness, her biggest competition that year seemed to be Julie Andrews in The Sound of Music, and while she is great in that, she had just won the year prior for another musical where she plays a nanny figure, meaning it was unlikely she would win again so soon for such a similar role. Because of this, I'll give her a 7. Our 39th winner is another two-time winner, Elizabeth Taylor. She won for her show-stopping performance in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. This film follows Martha and George, an older married couple who invite a younger couple, Nick and Honey, over for late-night drinks. Quickly, the night dissolves into antics and misery started by Martha and George, who play this cunning game of tug-of-war of control and belittlement over each other, while Nick and Honey get caught in the crossfire. I absolutely adore this movie. It is insanely stressful to watch Nick and Honey fall for Martha and George's tricks, revealing more personal information that they can use against them. This film was nominated for every Oscar it qualified for, and there's no surprise when you see it. Everyone working on this film was firing at all cylinders, from the editors to the actors, and it's a marvel to watch. While I think Butterfield 8 is largely a consolation win for Liz, this is a real tour de force that she rightly won. She is completely unrecognizable as Martha, and now that I've seen other films of hers, her transformation is even more impressive. How are these the same people?
Not by the crowds, baby, by you, by the man I worshipped. That's why I hated Skipper.
You hated him so much that you got him drunk and went to bed with him.
I'll show you who's sick. I'll show you who's sick. I'll show you.
All right, now,
I'll show you. Show you.
Stop it! Stop it!
Oh, boy. You really are having a field day, aren't you?
Obviously, that's how acting works, but come on. Alright, ratings time. I'm not even gonna delay it. This is getting 10s across the boards. This is one of my all-time favorite movies, and a big reason for that is Liz Taylor. Our 40th winner won her previous Oscar almost 35 years prior to her second, Katharine Hepburn. She won for her role as Christina in Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. This film follows Joey and her soon-to-be fiancé, John, after they fly back to Joey's parents' house to introduce her parents to John. Her parents, played by Katharine Hepburn and Spencer Tracy, have never met or ever heard of John since the two of them just met while Joey was on vacation. And because they've never met him, they are surprised to find out that he's black. John gives the Drayton parents an ultimatum. If they aren't okay with him and Joey getting married, then they won't, and they have until the end of the day to decide. This movie is very of its time. It came out the same year Loving v. Virginia occurred. So because of that, it's kind of more interesting to watch as a period piece than a classic movie. and while it is good as a movie, by today's standards, it definitely feels more like a public service announcement. Katharine Hepburn, as always, is fantastic. There's a scene near the end where Spencer Tracy is giving a speech, and you can see Katharine in the background, slightly out of focus with tears in her eyes, and it's pretty powerful. Hepburn and Tracy starred in 9 films together over 26 years, and this was the very last that they did, as Tracy died before this film came out, giving the scene a lot more depth than before. Alright, ratings time. For acting, I'll give her an 8, and movie rating a 7. For deservedness, there's 2 pretty big nominees, in Bancroft in The Graduate and Faye Dunaway in Bonnie and Clyde. I think in another year, these 2 women could have had a better chance to win, but I think this film came out at the perfect time, and Katharine is great in it, so I'll give her a 7.
The winner, it's a tie.
For the first and only time in Best Actress history, we have a tie. And what a year to have a tie as well. A real crossover of new versus old Hollywood, with newcomer Barbra Streisand and absolute icon Katharine Hepburn. Barbra won for her role that she originated on stage in Funny Girl, and Katharine won her 3rd Oscar and 2nd in a row for her role as Eleanor of Aquitaine in The Lion in Winter. Let's start with Funny Girl. This film follows the rise of Fanny Brice, a young Jewish woman with big dreams of becoming a star. After being recruited by Florence Ziegfeld, yes, the same Ziegfeld that the Best Actress winning film The Great Ziegfeld was made about, Fanny's stardom is undeniable. Along the way, she meets the gorgeous Nikki Arnstein. Fanny and Nikki fall madly in love, but as Fanny becomes more famous, Nikki resents not being the breadwinner of the house and begins gambling. I absolutely love this movie. It's probably in my top 20 all-time faves. The pacing is great for such a long movie, the music is incredible, and Barbra is just electric as Fanny Brice. It's crazy that this was her feature film debut because she acts like such a pro. On the other side, we have arguably one of the best actresses of all time, Katharine Hepburn, winning her 3rd Oscar for a historical drama. In The Lion in Winter, we follow King Henry II as he and his wife, Eleanor of Aquitaine, try to decide who should be the heir to the throne. Historical dramas are generally not my thing, so I didn't enjoy this one as much as Funny Girl, but regardless, easily the best thing about this movie was Katharine Hepburn's performance. There were times where I was starting to space out of the movie, but was drawn back in by her alone, whether it was just from a look or from a speech. She captivated me throughout the whole film. Alright, rankings time. Starting with Kate, for acting I'll give her an 8 and movie rating a 4. For Barbra, I'll also give her an 8 for acting and a 9 for movie rating. For deservedness, I think it's hard to say a tie isn't deserved in this case. I don't really have any complaints about the 2 of them sharing this win, so I'll give them both a 10. Our 42nd winner is probably most known for her work in various British series, Maggie Smith. She won for her titular role in the prime of Miss Jean Brodie. This film follows Jean Brodie, a school teacher with massive influence over her impressionable young students, who all look up to her. Miss Brodie consistently refers to herself as being in her prime. The young girls figure out what this means, especially because she brings some of them along with her to her dates. Weird thing to do. And because they like her so much, they try to emulate her behavior, leading to really creepy and disgusting behavior by the men in their lives. I truly do not understand why people like this movie. Maggie Smith's performance is fine, although in my opinion, easily overshadowed by Pamela Franklin.
Oh, Mary McGregor! Mary McGregor. I used to wonder why I always called Mary by her full name. I think it was because you had such a hard time remembering who she was. Poor dim Mary.
I was devoted to Mary.
No, you were only attracted to Mary because she had no one else and she was so totally suggestible. She appealed to your vanity.
But besides these 2 women, the complete lack of accountability for the creepy male teacher made my skin crawl. This man is 43, flirting with and seducing Miss Brodie's 13-year-old students. What the hell? Here's an actual screenshot from me and my friend watching this movie when a specific scene between the teacher and a student occurs. I've really got nothing else to say. I really did not like this movie, definitely on the lower end of movies I've watched for this. Alright, ratings time. For acting, I'll give her a 5 and movie rating a 1. For deservedness, besides Pamela absolutely killing it, I think it's absolutely insane that Maggie Smith beat Jane Fonda in They Shoot Horses, Don't They? This movie is a perfect Best Actress vehicle and completely devastating, and Jane Fonda gives an incredible performance. For these reasons, I'll give her a 0. Our 43rd winner is the first of the 70s, Glenda Jackson. She won for her role as Gudrun in Women in Love. This film follows 2 best friends, Gudrun and Ursula, in 1920s England. They both fall for fellow best friends, Rupert and Gerald, and get up to not a lot besides sleeping with each other. Yeah, the Hays Code has been found dead in a ditch. There's male frontal nudity in this. I thought the movie was just fine. I've never seen a Glenda Jackson movie before, but she was pretty good. I don't know, just not the big exciting entrance into the 1970s I was expecting, but I can't complain. I think Glenda Jackson does do a great job portraying the opposing ideals of being in love versus wanting to be a free spirit very well. Unrelated, there's a part where Gudrun and Gerald get into a fight, and Gerald storms off, but they're on a very snowy mountainside, so when he walks away, he's wearing these goofy snowshoes, and it made me laugh when I don't think I was supposed to. Alright, ratings time. For acting, I'll give her a 6, and movie rating a 5. For deservedness, I haven't heard of the other nominated movies, or their actors even, so I'd say she's deserving in that regard. In the not nominated category, however, we have Barbara Loden in Wanda, which is just an incredible performance and an amazing movie. I cannot recommend this film enough. Barbara is just so good. Because of this, I'll give her an 8. Here are the overall scores and rankings, and next time we'll look at Jane Fonda in Clute.